hooked her up with me to help her get a job. You invited her to 3 parties to meet your friends, including your birthday one. You added her to the group chat, and you comforted her through the men that ghosted her, and she thought you asking to discuss a topic you thought she might not feel comfortable with, that wasn't even about her, the topic, just a humorous topic, meant you didn't like her. Josie declared with a face that said, "Are you stupid?" "Yeah," I said, realizing that maybe I'd been played. Call it ascending, but lately I had felt my old life and patterns were fighting for me to come back, and I was still unsure how to fully treat myself after leaving those that treated me badly. My grief was confusing me because I thought it arrogant to believe that an entire existence could be surrounded by assholes. And yet... "And you said sorry to her," Josie said, keeping the same "you're stupid" look. I stared at Josie like a guilty child. I wanted to run away because a moment of perceived growth might have tossed me right back into my old self, the one that did not mind apologizing for existence if it meant she could keep a 1-minute friend. And she knows what you're going through, am I right? And she wanted you to apologize for making sure she was okay, so for nothing? I sighed. My pride had returned to its usual placement of up my ass. I went from feeling like I had handled myself like a big girl in a world where I officially had no family because of my newfound no contact rule, and within weeks was already entrapped by misinterpretations and people that would rather control me than themselves. It was my worst fear that leaving my family did not actually mean leaving my family. People are just stupid. Nobody has bandwidth anymore. I hate everyone, Josie declared nonchalantly as she toggled the remote to end her hate watch of the Love Island reunion. Everyone is so tired, I followed, like a child wanting mommy to approve her again. I felt triggered, and that call for much-needed isolation began to ring in. I was raised to make everyone happy with me and never let anyone go, but my life feels like a giant push towards other people's exits. And if I wanted the right people to stay for me, for the first time in my life, I had to accept I was alone and be really intentional about it. I can't deal with it. Everyone wants help, but no one wants to help. Now everyone wants sorry, but no one wants to give it. Get the fuck out of here. What does she give you? Did she message you to hang out after, or don't tell me you've asked her? At this point, I was ready to open her 9th-story apartment window and toss myself out. I was at a limbo between the women who raised me and the women who were raising me. The women that would toss men's ghosting of them, accusing them of neediness and hypercriticism as poor communication skills, but my asking, is this okay to talk about, potentially ended us/the world. I mean, I messaged her to see if she wanted to hang out a few times, but she ignored it. I said in a slight whisper, as if to only tell the pigeons on her sill, "Get out of here." That's all she wanted, sorry. To hear sorries from other women because men don't give it to her. Stop it. You need to grow up and leave the past and all these needy hoes. They talk about the male loneliness epidemic. What about the women who are realizing they were always alone pandemic? Don't give me rules and boundaries you don't give men. I'm done. And with that, she pressed play. And I was left ruminating in slight sadness because I really wanted to be as strong as her, or this alternate version of me that had no problem saying goodbye to everyone if it meant welcoming her power. All right, let's heal. Let's discuss. So I've talked about how immersive I could be with my friends, especially when I really like someone. And it was a weird situation because it was my birthday. I had asked, we were talking about mutual people that we know, and one of our friends doesn't like her friend, and I asked, hey, do you mind if he's probably going to talk about them, do you mind, like something like that. And she took it really wrong, and she said, oh, do you not like me? Like she kind of stopped talking to me for a few weeks, and then we had this 40-minute conversation where I said, I'm sorry I made you feel that way, but there was no ill intent. And I walked away feeling really good because one of the things that my family did to manipulate me was this idea that without them, I would be highly immoral and I would just be, 2 kitchen knives away from becoming a serial killer. And it worked because I don't want to get upset at me for how I survived as a child. My family was very mean, very bullying. They were financially abusive, emotionally abusive, mentally abusive. And they were very hypocritical because, on one hand, I was the best, sweetest kid that could be really mean and wrong to them. And mind you, these were adults always criticizing and yelling at a child. So I just, and I wanted them to love me. So I didn't, obviously, it pained me and I cried a lot as a kid. And they just made it sound like I was naturally depressed. But I was nurtured in abuse. And that made me grow up into this person that really does believe every criticism of her is valid. And I'm entering this space of maybe it's okay to be alone. If somebody criticizes me, then they're out. Especially because I work so hard to love people and accept them for who they are and believe that they have better intentions for me or with me, even when they screw up. Because I don't, it's wild. And I think I spoke about this in a prior episode. It's amazing how many apologies I have given when I really, I mean, two things. I don't ask for them. And I really don't ask for sorries that much compared to how I've always given them. And I think it's because when you're raised with narcissistic parents, they're always making you as a child say sorry. You know, sorry for, oh, I'm sorry for my tone. I'm sorry for how I said hi. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it becomes this reward system because they, A, stop yelling at you. They, B, might describe you as a good kid. And I got entrapped into that dynamic as an adult. And the things that helped me survive as a kid were now sabotaging me as an adult. And I hated how strong Josie's reaction was, but I also needed it. And it helped me because I'm moving on from my family. I'm moving on from my past. I'm standing up for myself. And I don't know how. I just know I have to. And I was raised again to believe that I could be, you know, blind to other people's feelings, yet that's the only way I've ever lived according to other people's feelings. And I went from feeling really empowered that for the first time in my post life without family, I was receiving somebody's criticism and handling it well to there I go again, receiving unnecessary criticism. And to be honest, what was I going to do? You know, like toss the iced latte in the air and be like, F everyone? No. The flip side of that was I too apologetic? What if I did toss the latte in the air? What if I did say, I'm not apologizing, you're being sensitive? What if I actually countered? And that's where I felt really, really confused. And I hated it because when you start standing up for you and really making a determined action to become a better human being, become a better person, and grow up, you are totally confused by what that means. You just know you've got a target, and that is to not take anyone's BS, to not take your own BS, to start taking care of you, to start choosing wisely. But then you also have to learn wisdom. And I felt really crossed. I mean, on one hand, I love Josie because I don't have people that defend me. I don't defend me. So when I have someone go out of their way and say, you don't need to apologize. You don't need to feel like a horrible human being anymore. You're okay. It's like water in a desert to me. I don't get that often. Somebody saying, no, actually, you were right. No, you don't have to apologize and be the better person. You're good. I don't get that. And I don't think it's necessarily, I don't want to think anymore that I just attract jerks. I want to believe that my problem is accepting them. And I say that because for the first time in my life, I'm more willing to be alone. I think I got to close the blinds and stay at home for a bit because I really want to find and make a new family. And I think that in losing my old family, I kind of dove into the pool and told myself I just need to accumulate people and comfort myself and grieve through friends. But I left my family in part, and this is why I know I didn't do anything wrong to them. I didn't have an identity. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the health to be a villain. I didn't have the say or the power or the control to fight back against how they overwhelmed me, to always fix their issues, to always show up for them, to always be the good little girl. And what I mean by that is they were always villainizing me, and they were always saying at best blame is 50-50. And I didn't mind sharing the blame because I wanted them to love me. But then I got so hollowed out and I became this really empty version of me that didn't love me or really anyone anymore. Like I was just a walking ghost, and you could just put me in any room to just haunt it, right? Like I didn't, and that's why when I say I literally didn't do anything to them, because I just became whatever they wanted me to be in that moment. If they wanted me to be the sorries that they never got, I would be the sorries. If they wanted me to be the joke that they needed at the time, I would tell the joke. And it was really triggering Josie's reaction because I thought, did I do it again? Did I just mold to what that person needed at that moment? Especially because me and Josie were talking about the concept of bandwidth and how everybody is just going through this horrible time with the world feeling like it's an impending doom. And and just, everybody is really moody and wants sorries that they don't give, and wants help that they don't share. And yet, when you look at it, nobody's facing their actual villain. People would rather punch their neighbor than go for the crown of their king. And I was for this person. Every female friend, the minute we gather, we have a little bit of a discussion on men and how they mistreat us and how they ghost us. It's just inevitable. Every oppressed group, you get them in a room, and at least 20 minutes is going to be a discussion on their oppressor and their oppression. And it's something that I've really thought about, particularly in terms of women friendship and what women I want to be my friends. I can no longer be friends with women who allow men to mistreat them and put them in limbo and ghost them, but then tone police me. Because of moments like this where I find myself, I'm like, isn't your boyfriend cheating on you? And how I said hello is dooming the friendship. Like I've had dynamics like that where and I think what was always tossed in my face was I haven't dated that much, right? And when I dated, and it's something that I've talked about in past episodes of Daddy Recovery, I felt like I really was just kind of dating myself, like falling in love with me. I was the details. I was the one taking care of everything. All they had to do was show up. So now I want somebody to show up for me. I don't want to just fill the gaps and make things work even if they shouldn't anymore. And I'm really trying to change because I'm over it. I'm absolutely over needing to apologize to people's sensitivities, in part because I haven't really shared mine. When I am wronged, I will just handle it. And I got to hold either the same rule for the persons that are with me. You handle your feelings, I handle mine. Or find people that will process their feelings with me and understand everything goes both ways. I don't know. I mean, maybe give your opinion. Was I wrong in asking, do you care? And I get it. Sometimes I was raised to overshare and overthink and over apologize. That my fear is that I oddly fear not doing that anymore. And yeah, I don't know. Because sometimes you can ironically look like the bad guy and trying to be the good. And I think that's how I interpret it. In trying to be really careful and caring, maybe I misstepped and I looked like a douchebag. But according to Josie, that's not it. And if you see, she was like, no, 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 no. And I think she's going through a time in her life where I like her because she's more cutthroat than me. And I want to be that. But I also want to be soft and tender. I like those aspects of me before I had realized my family used it to their benefit and not mine. So let's see how I keep it. Check out daddyrecovery.com and check out the podcast and Heidi Music on all platforms. I love you.